Hello, everybody. I feel like there's a million Big Brother podcasts this season, but welcome to 1,000,001. I'm Nick. I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel. I'm definitely more of a Survivor guy. Like, if we were talking Survivor, I've seen pretty much every episode. Big Brother, though, that's why I have these three here. So we'll start with you, Meg. Do you want to talk about your watching of Big Brother over the years?
I've seen every single episode of Big Brother. So I was like, I think 13 when it first came out.
Wow.
And my 6-year-old also watches it with me. I have auditioned to be on the show. Sadly, did not make it. But I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to see all of these different people that I think all have very good individual games play against each other and kind of see how it works out. So.
Vanguy?
Similar. I mean, I don't remember. I've watched every season of Big Brother for sure. I've rewatched a few of them. Though I'm not going to lie, there was actually one or two players on this season that I had to look up, even though I literally watched their season to kind of remember who they were. I think my general take on this season is that the term all-star was used a little loosely, but overall, I like the cast. Like, I'm happy.
I agree.
Think it would be an entertaining cast. But I think you have multiple players on the show who actually had 2 shots at the game and never finished better than 11. So for me, that it's very subjective, the term all-star. I just wish they would have renamed the season like returning players rather than like all-stars, because it's very misleading.
Dazed?
I started watching Big Brother at season 12 after I recognized a classmate from the University of Arkansas, and from then on, I just kind of got really into it. Started watching the feeds, I think 2 seasons later, when the coaches came in, season 14, and I've been glued ever since. Have had the feed since, read multiple feed updates, Reddit, Morty's, listen to A-Trap. So, like everybody else said, I'm excited for this season. I like almost everybody on this cast with the exception of maybe like Christmas. But super excited to see some returning players. I'm ready to get going.
I'm happy it started. Big Brother is literally my summer. So
yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen.
Season. I was worried we weren't going to happen.
I know, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
So we'll talk about the first episode at the end if we have time, but I want to go through the cast first and get your guys' thoughts about their first game or games and these first few days of feeds, if you have seen any of that or read any of that. And then at the end, I'll ask for like a rating from 1 to 10 of how you think they're coming into this game. We're going to start, you mentioned her days, we're going to start with Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
You might as well go.
There's you either like Christmas or you don't like Christmas, and I am one of those that does not like her. The main reason is because partially I feel like the only reason she made it to the end, or at least final 3, was because she was in Paul's pants for the most part. And I do feel like she's in love with Paul. But I am excited to see what she can actually do now that she doesn't have a broken foot. But she's a hothead, and I mean, good luck to her. I don't see her lasting that long, but I'd prefer not to see her on the season, personally.
Meg, what about you?
I feel like I have to love Christmas because she's a Raleigh girl. But
I knew that. That's why I was watching you when you were talking.
But at the same time, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Dave said, except I don't really know exactly where I stand on my thoughts with Christmas. I was surprised to see her on this season, being that it was like an all-star season, and her entire first season was her hobbling around on a broken foot and just like consoling Josh every time he cried, which was pretty much all day long. So, but she did come into her last season wanting to be a beast at comps and wasn't able to do that with a broken foot and really had to learn a good social game. So I'm excited to see what she can do now that she's learned how to have a good social game, and now she can also have the competition side too. But I think she's gonna have to play it really good to get far, because I don't think with the rest of the people there that she'll last very long.
Fanga.
I mean, I echo what they said. You know, it's funny that they kind of danced around the point that she's sort of a forgettable player is what it comes down to. And I think that applies to not only outside of the house, but it also applies to kind of inside of the house. I don't think she has the connections to a lot of those other players the way I think that a lot of them might have already. So I am very much like they said, I'm very curious to see if she can turn it on in competitions, because I think that's her really only way to get super deep into this game, is to prove herself as a super competition beast. And you know, but she's sort of one of the forgettable cast members for sure.
Yeah, coming into this season, I was not a fan of Christmas. I was not just a fan of season 19 in general. I don't think anybody that season played that season except for Paul.
She could have won that season had she been in Josh.
She could have, which is ridiculous because she had a broken foot. But after watching some of the feeds, I feel like she could grow on me. I honestly think so. We'll see how she plays this season, but I don't know. We'll start with you, Days, on your grade, unless you have more to say about her.
No. What are we grading? What are we grading them on? Social, competition,
just
overall,
how
likelihood
good,
to win.
Yes, likelihood to win mostly coming into this game, and I guess the first few days of feeds.
Again, I'm just waking up, so I'm still scatterbrained. But I don't like Christmas to win. If this was a draft, she would not be one of my first picks. Honestly, the real only upside I see to having her there for me is I want to see her get in a fight. Possibly with Janelle, maybe Nicole Franzel. That's what I'm waiting for. Like I said, she's kind of a hothead. She didn't necessarily show it off in her first season, but it was there, and she's really controlling. So on a scale of 1 to 10, her likely to win, I think I'd give her like a 3.
Meg.
Yeah, I mean, she's one I really don't know, because like we've covered, she is kind of forgettable. I could see her like trying to be a power player, but falling more in the middle of the pack, and yeah, maybe getting into some drama, but likelihood to win, I think I'd give her a 4.
Fanga.
I'm gonna go south of them and give her a straight 2. Likelihood to win. I mean, we're talking likelihood to win. You know, like if this was something where I could like grade out her like statistics on different metrics and different bars, you know, I think she's probably going to be one of the stronger competition people in the house. Like looking at this particular lineup, I think physically she's one of the stronger people in the house, in my opinion, for sure. So I
disagree with you.
You don't think so?
Who
do you see in there that's like a
comp?
Like Tyler maybe and Cody?
Dani is a comp beast. Janelle is a comp beast. Tyler,
do it now because they played a long time ago. I got to see, because I'm old. I'm getting old, and I know what this does to this fine wine. Don't get me wrong. You know, like I know that like I'm hurting in places that I didn't even know I had nowadays. So yeah. I get it. Like Janelle was a super comp beast. Like she holds like records and stuff. But I want to see it this season. So like I like Christmas looks in shape. She looks ready to go. But I think that there's just too many social connections that have already been made in the house, maybe, that she's on the outside of to give her too big of a shot to actually win.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. I don't know if we'll talk about some pre-gaming as far as this season goes, but you have to assume that she was talking to Josh, and Josh had connections with Casey, and then and Casey and Josh aren't here, so you got to think that kind of cripples her, not necessarily break her foot, but cripples her in the game to start out. So
Thank God Josh is not here, but like, you know what? They deserve it. They're down there partying in Miami and
yeah,
caught the corona.
I love the break a foot pun on the end of that one. It's not necessarily crippling, but it's not going to be great.
I think I'm going to agree with most of you and just give her a 3. I can't see her being strategic. So getting to the end, I mean, maybe she could get there again, but I don't see it this season with all these other players.
Floaters, get your floaties on.
And next up will be Bayleigh, and we will start with you, fan guy.
So Bayleigh was recently on a season of The Challenge, which is an extremely physical show. So I think Bayleigh's competition prowess, she's going to be a dark horse in some of these comps. I actually believe that because I think she was on a show now where she saw what it was like. You know, they're running 20 miles in the sand and snow and all this stuff. So Bayleigh, I think, as a competition player, is going to be fine. And I'm curious to see how she can play without Swaggy because a lot of people think Swaggy sank her first game. She's on my list of also people that, I mean, I necessarily wouldn't call her an all-star, but I know she's capable of standing up for herself, as we've seen on Big Brother and The Challenge. She will get in people's faces. She will make for good TV. So I'm excited to see her on this season, and I do think that she's going to be underrated in these challenges, like the physical challenges. I really believe that. So I think she'll be able to fly under the radar if she wants to and turn it on when she needs to. So, I mean, I like seeing Bayleigh in this game for sure.
Meg.
I mean, I agree. I'm not a fan of Bayleigh, but I will give her credit where credit is due, and I think that she will perform well in competitions, physical competitions, maybe not the like mentally. Go, sorry, my child, go away. But Bayleigh is a massive hothead, and if she can keep it together and keep it under check and team up with continue what is kind of brewing with her and DaVonne and try to get some of those bigger players or side with some of those bigger players, I think she could float pretty far if she keeps her mouth shut.
Dazed.
You bring up DaVonne, and it's weird to see Bayleigh and DaVonne team up together because both of those girls are very outspoken. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see the bloody mouth again. But you know, I think right now, early in the season, her game kind of relies on her relationship with Tyler, actually. And from what I've seen, they've kind of been, you know, cool. Like maybe everything's, you know, they've cleared everything out. So I think as long as she doesn't get too paranoid about that and builds her relationships with other people, she should be good. I do agree with Fan Guy that her competition skills are pretty legit. She's a bit of a beast. So I mean, I'm not excited to see her there. I am excited to see her there without Swaggy, and I think she will do 100 times better without him there.
I want to touch upon her social game because I feel like it's underrated because, well, sometimes she talks too much, but she's very good at just creating conversations with people. And I do agree that if she can keep her emotions in check, her emotions are her downfall. If she could keep her emotions in check, I think her social game could go far.
I agree.
I think so too, depending on who she's playing with. But I feel like Bayleigh is intelligent. And I think she's a really good conversationalist. And I think she's good at empathizing with other people. And when she's really in a conversation, she does well listening and responding, and she doesn't dominate. So, I mean, I think she does have a decent social game, but I think it's really going to depend on her keeping it under wraps and not, you know, really aggressively going after people and causing a big to-do.
It's just such a big if.
Yeah, it's a huge if. I mean, you're pretty much, it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, especially with that group, because there's a few hotheads in there.
Yeah, there's a couple folks in this cast that could legit go off on others. So,
Fan guy, what would you give Bayleigh on her rating to win?
To win the game, based on what I've seen, I'm going to give Bayleigh a 4.
Meg.
I think with just some of the other players in the game, I'm around the same. I think maybe I'll give her a 5 just to give her a little bit more, but yeah, I don't really see her taking the whole thing.
Dazed.
I agree with Meg. I'll give her a 5 just in that I'm not really sure yet where she's going to go in this game. I think she's doing a pretty good job so far of building connections with others. It just kind of depends right now if she's an early target, which I haven't really heard her name out there yet. So, yeah, middle of the pack.
I agree. I was also going to give her a 5. I feel like it's too early to tell with her. I agree on the if with her. If she cannot be so emotional, I actually do like her chances more, but that is the if question. Up next is the HOH, Cody. Meg, we'll start with you.
I really like Cody. I really liked Cody and Derek together. I was a fan of them in Big Brother 16. I think if he plays his cards right, Cody could have a really good chance. I think he does have a social game. It's a little bit different this time around because he can't really flirt his way to the end. But with Nicole F there, I think he's coming in with a solid alliance with another really strong player. Yeah, I mean, I think Cody could fly under the radar and people won't give him the credit that he deserves. And I think he could get a little bit further than at least the 2 that we've talked about so far.
Dazed.
Flying under the radar. I think that partially comes because a lot of folks think that his game was tied to Derek's, and the only reason he made it that far is because of Derek. But he is really good at the social game. He builds connections with every single person in that house, and he's already doing that. I know he didn't want to win this HOH to begin with, but when he saw some of the big hitters in the cast, he went ahead and did it. And I think that was a good thing for him. But he's already struggling a bit. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but I think this HOH is going to be a downfall for him. I think he might be putting a target on his back already, just because of some of the folks' names that he's floating. But I like him. I like him as a character on the show. He's a good-looking dude, athletic, can win competitions, and he's kind of smart. I'd much rather have him here than his brother, so that's a...
Oh, absolutely.
You touched on that right before I was gonna. You touched on that right before I was gonna. So Cody, I mean, he has to be following his brother's blueprint, right? If you look at the way Paulie and Cara played the challenge, even they went in with this huge pre-made alliance. So you are super naive if you think that Cody probably didn't try to pregame with at least for sure what it's looking like Enzo, Tyler, Nicole. Those 3 at the very least, he has a super pregame sort of strategy with that he probably adopted from his brother. So Cody, the player, I liked him on his season. I think I'm going to like him less on this season, to be honest. But as Dave says, I do think he's a prototypical player. He does fit the mold of the kind of a certain profile that they seem to have, 1 or 2 people of every year. He's going to be athletic. He's going to do well in comps. And if he can keep his alliance together of a bunch of very, he's got some personalities in his group. And if he can keep them together, he has potential to go far. But it really just depends on whether we see an implosion from that alliance, I think, or his pre-connections.
Yeah, his HOH reign so far has been very weird to me. It's just so I don't know how to explain it. I'm with Days too. It's very he's just not communicating well with some people, I
He
guess would
hasn't
be
had any
what I would say.
conversations with like really anybody
He's cut off.
besides like both the Nicoles.
Yeah.
Like,
I think if he didn't have that pregame alliance and probably help from Derek, which maybe we'll talk about later because I have some choice words about Derek.
I think
But-
he's fallen into that all guys alliance trap that Enzo's trying to create. And I'm not with girls like Dani and Janelle in this cast. I'm not sure that's the route you want to take in this game.
Yeah, but I do think he's going to be okay because of that pregame alliance. But if it wasn't there, he would have a horrible week 2. Meg, what would you give his chance of winning?
I mean, honestly, I rate Cody pretty high, probably a 7 or an 8.
I'll give it a 7.5.
Okay, that sounds good.
Dazed.
I have a feeling that he's going to get really far, although I don't want him to. I'll give him. Right now, I'm gonna give him an 8. I think he has some meat shields that he can put in front of him, although he could be the meat shield. If he can get an alliance going with Nicole, she's a lot bigger target than him, so she'll always be voted out before him. Nicole Frenzel, that is. So yeah, I'll stick with an 8. He could get far in this game.
Okay.
It does. It pains me to say, like, I honestly haven't scoped this out completely, but I don't think I'm going to give anyone a 10. I'm a probability guy, but this is going to definitely be one of the higher scores I give because I do think Cody has one of the better chances in the house. So based on that metric, I'm probably going to say I'm going to give him an 8 just because of almost exactly what Dave said about he definitely has pre-gamed and he's going to be good at competitions. So he's going to have a close few people and he's going to be good at competitions. And that combination in itself is pretty hard to stop.
My one problem with him is I don't think he's going to if he gets deep in the game because of these pre-game alliances. When it gets to a point when he has to put in his own work and his own strategies, I see him falling apart. So I'm going to give him a 6.
Brutal.
Speaking of brutal, I didn't watch last season, but I saw the one episode where he played. Not that he got a chance to play because last season was a whole mess. We will start with you, Days.
Personality-wise, I like David. I think his early out in his season, I mean, I wish that wouldn't happen. I don't like first night evictions. And as it stands right now, I don't want to say forgettable to the viewers, but he's forgettable to the rest of the cast. And he is not on anybody's radar. He's kind of building his way into that all guys alliance, but he's, I mean, he could go far. I don't know how well his competition ability is, but he's a pretty sociable dude. When he was in Camp Comeback, he built relationships with everybody, even though he wasn't going to be getting back into the game. So I'd give him a good shot. I'm not going to not rating yet. I like him in this game. He's definitely not an all-star, but I do like that he's back. I want to see what he can do.
Fanga.
I concur. I mean, I think he's extremely likable. I've liked pretty much everything I've seen out of David from both his seasons. I mean, obviously, he's not an all-star. He didn't even basically get into the house, let alone, like, he almost didn't even sleep in the house. I don't even know if he had a night in there. So very loose definition of all-star here. But I think he's a good player, and I do want to see him come back because his season was dominated by quite literally my least favorite Big Brother player of all time, who is Jackson Mickey. He is absolutely my least favorite player in Big Brother history, and I think David got kind of a raw deal on his season. So I definitely agree. He has all of the components to be a great Big Brother player. He seems very social. He seems very under the radar. He doesn't have too big a target on himself, and he's making subtle connections, particularly this week, at least with the people in power. So I'm curious to see if he continues to kind of pander to whoever's in power, or if he decides to ride with like the Tyler, Cody sort of crew when the times aren't good and they aren't on top and they aren't in power. So I'm very curious to see how he decides to play that. So David intrigues me, and I do think he has an actual chance in this game.
Meg.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that Fan Guy said. I like David, and I'm excited to see him actually get a chance to like really play Big Brother, because I think he's going to be a great Big Brother player. But I think he's going to have the opportunity to kind of do well in comps and do well socially when he needs to. But like you said, he's not on anybody's radar. And I think he has an advantage because nobody really knows David's game. They all know each other's games. And I think they're all going to be, head hunting for those big ticket people right now. And David's going to be able just to kind of do his thing, be friends with everybody, and make it pretty far. Yeah, definitely a fan.
But Days, what would you give him as his shot to win?
I'm not gonna lie, I really do want to see him get far in this game, and the fact that nobody's even thinking about him, like Meg said, everybody's headhunting right now. I'll give him a 7. Even without seeing his game, I just think he's that likable that everybody's gonna be friends with him, and he doesn't have to worry about people coming after him right now.
You said a 7 Days?
Yep.
Fan Guy?
I'm actually, I think I'm going to go the same because I think he has less of a chance than Cody, who I gave an 8 to. But I do think he has the ability. See, if I was rating his ability to get far in the game, I think it would be extremely high. I give David a very high chance to get far. I don't know about winning because it depends on his social connections he makes while he's in the house, about his jury votes as far as actually having a chance to win. But I'm going to give him a 7 because he's one of my dark horses for sure to win this whole thing.
Meg.
I'm gonna go 8 for David. I think that if he makes it far with people like Cody and Nicole F and maybe Tyler, he's still gonna, I mean, based on what we know of him right now, I think he would still be like kind of bottom of the barrel target without knowing really what his game is going to be like. I think people are going to want to get those bigger, well-known players out before him. So, I mean, I think his chances are pretty good right now. So I'll go 8.
I feel like I'm the low grader so far. I just can't give anybody over a 6 yet, but I'm going to give him a 6 for now because he has the factor of nobody knowing his game, and I do think that helps a lot of people. It helped Russell on Heroes versus Villains and Survivor because nobody got to see him play his first season. Not that he's like Russell, but still, I think that is always an advantage. So I will give a 6 for now.
Yeah.
Up next, DaVonne, and we will start with the Fan Guy.
Okay, so DaVonne, I mean, I hate to mention another player in her segment, but she falls into the same category for me. I'm just going to briefly reference, she's not an all-star. She's one of my favorite players on this season, for sure. But to me, her and Kaser actually who are two of my favorite players on this season, mind you. They're actually both two of my favorite players. And to me, they have the worst resume to be called all-stars because they had 2 chances at the game and couldn't finish better than 11. So that aside, I love DaVonne. I think she's insane at making connections with people. As a former poker player for so many years, I spent most of my 20s doing that. I can tell you she used to be a poker dealer, and those people are social. They have to be. They are constantly around people all day. So DaVonne is going to know how to read people. She's going to know how to gauge the situation. She's going to sit back and pay attention. her shortcoming, again, it could be if she pops off, it's the wrong person at the wrong time. I think she's going to try to play a more controlled game because I think she's seen where that got her in the past, and DaVonne's smart. So I do think she is going to play more controlled. And I love DaVonne. I love her personality. I love seeing her on the season. She is one of my favorite players for sure. And if she makes the right connections with the right people, she could definitely go far.
Meg.
Did you say me? Oh. I mean, I agree. I think DaVonne is a good player. She doesn't have the greatest resume, but I think that she did come off just like Kaser. She's like a huge threat that people just knew that she was going to make it far, and that's why she did it. I mean, when everybody is against you, you really have no choice. There's no option for you. I'm not really concerned with her like popping off though. I think DaVonne has like matured a lot over the years since we've seen her play, and she's also a former challenge player as well. So I think she's learned what those situations are like, and I don't see her as easily popping off on people. I think that her and Bayleigh, if they can keep it together, though, they could be a pretty good power couple together. And I really want to see them join in with Janelle and Kaser. And I think there's slight talks of that going on right now. So I'm excited to see where like the four of them could go together, because I think the two duos have very different ways that they play. And I think they would do well protecting each other. I think DaVonne's very loyal. I think she's a very loyal player, and I respect that about her.
Dazed.
So, first off, some may not consider her an all-star, but she is definitely an all-star in the diary room. So I love having her back. The way she tells a story is amazing. I love watching her on the big screen. I think in her first two seasons, she was a victim of toxic masculinity, if you want to call it, as far as Polly, and then in her next season with Frank. And like Meg said, she has matured a lot after seeing her on The Challenge and how she dealt with Bear. She has come... She has come really far in the way of dealing with people that she does not particularly like. So I don't see anybody like that on this cast. So without that holding her back, which really gets her going, and for good reason, I like her. I want to see her team up with somebody like Janelle and Kaser and get far in this game. I really do. I love her. I love watching her.
DaVonne is definitely one of my favorites in this cast. Not necessarily to win, but she's just entertaining. And I think she's an all-star for being so entertaining. Her biggest weaknesses in her first season, she didn't really get a chance to play. But in her second season, challenges were not great. But I think she redeemed herself on the challenge, winning elimination challenges. So she could be a surprise challenge player in this season as well.
She's an underrated comp beast, I will say. Like, she has just raw strength that you wouldn't think she has.
Some of the stuff you have to do on the challenge, just hanging in there. Like, I hate saying it like that, but just doing the task and completing it is hard. It's physically demanding.
And I think we're going to see more out of competitions from her this season, given the fact that she's now had the experience on the challenge. And, you know, I think where she lacks on competitions, Bayleigh's going to pick up the slack for her.
I do feel like she's in a good spot in the game as well, so far anyway. And I agree with you, Meg, about that she and Bayleigh should team up with Kaser and Janelle. It's Bayleigh and Janelle who are doing all the talking. I think DaVonne might need to start talking to them a little more.
So DaVonne's not doing a whole lot of talking at all. I think she spent like 6 hours doing a puzzle by herself.
Nothing trying to
speak to anybody.
Well, but it's working. Fan guy, what do you give her chances of winning?
I think she's a solid 7. I think she's got a great chance. I echo what these guys said. Like, I think she has matured, and I love what Meg said about her being in the challenge house, because you compare just the people, not just Bear, who is the worst, but like that whole crowd is like young, party hungry, 20 somethings, arguably in a lot of ways some of the most annoying people on the planet, and she
Yep.
totally handled it like a pro. So
Mhm.
I think she has everything it takes to win this season.
Meg.
I give her a 7 as well.
Days.
I'll go one up. I'll put her on level with Cody. I think she's in a good spot. I think she has the ability to make connections with every single person in this house. And I think she can win a comp when she needs to. So I like her to go pretty far in this game.
I'm going to finally join the 7 club for this one. A lot will depend if she doesn't get tunnel vision like she did in season.
Nick loves himself
second
some
season.
Mama Day.
Oh, I do.
That's
But when she gets tunnel vision with Frank, I think that was her downfall in the whole game. I have a lot to say about this next one, but we will start with Meg on Dani.
You know, I loved Dani on season 8. I didn't like her as much on 13, but I loved her and Dick's dynamic on their season together. Evil Dick's probably one of my most favorite Big Brother players to date. I follow him on Twitter, so I get all the insight on what he thinks is going on. I think Dani's in a good position right now. And I think that she's in good shape to continue being the comp beast that she was on her seasons. But I want her to lean over more towards the stronger side of the house and get away from Cody. I just don't really want to see her working with Cody and Nicole.
Fan guy.
I almost agree with that to a T, right down to the fact that I liked her most on her first season, less on her second season, and I think she's going to get lost in the shuffle on this season, to be honest, in a lot of ways. I don't think she's going to bring she doesn't bring a lot of the personality. I think competition-wise, just off the top of my head, I think there's a lot of competitors physically. I think if they can somehow get rid of Cody and Tyler early, who I obviously think are the 2 favorites in most of the straight physical stuff, and maybe even like Christmas and Bayleigh, I think if you can get rid of, like, it's going to be a pretty even playing field as far as competitions go. So I think Dani's going to be right in the mix on most comps. But I think personality-wise, she's going to be kind of forgettable to us at home. And I also think she's, again, going to just kind of be one of the more forgettable housemates this season. I would have loved to see her dad instead of her on this season.
He's in like no shape to play Big Brother.
That's a fact. But I'm just saying, like, you know. But yeah,
we've also really only seen Nicole or Dani ever play while involved in a showman. So I'm excited to see her play on her own.
Yeah, good point. And I think she has the social skills to make it happen. She's adept at the game. She's played it a few times and she's done well. So she is an all-star. She fits my personal definition of an all-star. I just want to see her pop more. I know that sounds weird, but like a lot of people, it's entertainment at its core, and I just want to see her pop more. I want to see her pop more.
Yeah, I like Dani. I like her because she is a super fan of Big Brother. I didn't ever think I'd see her in this house again, but give her the shot and she will definitely come back. I do think she's going to fall into the same trap that she did in her second season, where she went against, I don't want to say vets because everybody in this game has played before, but going against those who you expect her to team up with. So I kind of figured she'd roll with Kaser and Janelle, and it already looks like she's going against them, and that was the reason why she was taken out in her second season. Competition-wise, though, she is smart. and competitive. It doesn't matter if it's a physical competition or puzzle or memory. She's good. And if you noticed when they moved into the house, she almost finished that rolly ball puzzle or whatever it was. She rolled right past the hole, and once that happened, she was done for. But I want to see her in competitions. I think if she doesn't just try to completely go against one side of the house, she can do pretty well. But I think she's already falling into that routine again. So
I do think competitions can save her, but with Dani in her second season, she overplayed. I feel like it's been 3 days and she's already trying to overplay. She has like 5 targets in 3 days. How? I just don't think she's off to a good start, in my opinion.
I mean, what a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
grade.
people, she should know better, right? Because she's played it before. But a lot of people, and I was guilty. You know, I've been guilty of this myself. Like, you forget that people talk. Like, like, it's easy to lose, like, to get tunnel vision on the game and get in your head and forget that, you know, you're isolated in the house with these people. These people are going to talk. So when you start listing off that many targets, like, and you know, just floating names out there, it's got to get back to the people. And nobody likes it when anybody floats your name. When somebody floats your name, it's on. It's on. You know. So I mean, you know, it's great.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just can't see her winning. I'm gonna give her a 3. I'm starting the grades for this one because this is the one I felt strongly about. So I will go next. I forgot who started this one, but we'll go with Meg first to grade.
Yeah, I think I started. Yeah, I mean, I rate her pretty low too. I think I give her about a 4 to win. I don't think she has it in her to win. I think the only reason that not the only reason, but I think a big part of the reason that she made it to, you know, runner up on season 8 was because Dick was a good player.
Agreed.
She kind of followed along with him, and he brought her all the way to the end of the game for sure. So yeah, I mean, I give her a 4. She's not really impressing me so far. I'm kind of disappointed.
Fanga.
3. It'd be lower if she couldn't win comps, but she can. So I'm gonna give her a puncher's chance at winning this game. That maybe she can go on a comp run.
Days.
Again, I really love Dani, but I'm going to the bottom here and giving her a 1.
Ooh.
Just because 2 things. Again, she's falling into that trap, and 2, she is completely against one of my favorite people in the game. I know, Nick, you're not going to like this, but she is totally against Nicole Anthony right now. Her and Nicole Franzel, and it's based solely on some podcast bullshit right now.
She hasn't even spoken to her.
Yeah. And if you can't get down with Nicole Anthony, I can't get down with you. So bye, Dani. I'm ready to see you go.
Up next is a very underrated player, I think, in Enzo, and we will start with Days.
Enzo, my man. Pop Dukes, what's up?
Julie's like,
oh goodness. I love Enzo just as a personality. He is such a character. I love watching him. I am glad he's back. To be honest, I would much rather see him there than Hayden, just because Hayden's kind of boring. And this is TV. You do need some TV personalities to be on the show. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm glad he's there. I enjoy watching him. I will be watching more of the feeds just to tune into his conversations and see what jokes he comes up with. But yeah.
Fanga.
I mean, so Enzo was like my personal 3rd favorite member of the brigade. So I'm actually going to disagree with Days for probably the first time on this one, where I would have preferred to see Hayden or Matt from the brigade than Enzo. I do think Enzo is a bigger personality, and I do think in a lot of ways he's going to be better for TV in the show. But I think if you're going to bring back a member of the brigade, bring back one of the two that made the final. Like the third guy that most people forgot is something else. Now, I do think Enzo's social game is going to be it's going to be a very double-edged sword for him in a weird way this game, because I think it's super strong, but I also think in a lot of ways it's almost so strong that it has a way of he could be one of the players' victims of this guy seems to get along and vibe well with everyone, so let's not drag him along. I definitely think he has a pre-connection with Cody for sure. I'm almost certain that they have an alliance coming into the game, which I think is going to help him, that Cody got started off on the right foot so that any talks of his name probably aren't going to magnify. Personally, for me, Enzo's in the middle of the pack. I like him as a player. I have no problem with him being back on the season. But in terms of prowess, he's hit or miss for me. I could see his social game taking him far. I could also just see him getting lost somehow too.
I agree. He's hit or miss with me. I mean, personally, I like Enzo, but I mean, honestly, I see Enzo going up as a pawn and going out as a pawn. And that's how I think his game's going to. I think he's going to be an easy person to be like, oh, everybody likes you. I'm going to put you up as a pawn because nobody's going to vote for you. And then see you later. There you go. So that's my prediction on what's going to happen to Enzo. Watch it happen.
I literally just wrote that down. Enzo pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Pawns go home. Pawns go home.
Pawns go home.
It's easy to pawn the guy who everybody likes. That's what I mean. His social game could easily kick him in his own butt.
Yeah.
Like exactly like that.
I definitely do agree with you on that. I do like his social game, and I think so far he's off to a great start. Literally nobody has said anything bad about him so far compared to a lot of others already. But yeah, there's going to be a point where I can see him as a pawn. I definitely agree. Days score on winning.
I would like to rate him high just because I do like him, but I'm going to give him a 4 because I see him being a pawn multiple times this season, and eventually the pawn is going to go home and he's going to be back in his penthouse well before he wants to. So go with the 4 on Enzo.
Fan guy.
He's going to fall into the exact same trap that he fell into his first time around, I think, which is he's just going to align with stronger players who again are eventually echoing. I mean, I hate being a broken record. These stronger players who are going to take him far or further, they're eventually just going to be like, okay, Enzo, you've come far enough. We've been calling all the shots. It's time for you to go. So I'm going to give him a 4. I think, if the circumstances fall his way, he can, do something. But I don't think he is original. He's kind of a follower.
Meg.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay consistent with Days and Fan Guy and give him a 4.
I'm actually going to be the one to give a higher grade this time. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Enzo is going to be the one that does switch up his game when the time is right. I don't know when that time is right. I don't know if I'm right. But I don't think he's going to just fall into that trap again of keeping the strong players there for a long time. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess we'll find out.
What was your ranking?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought I said it. 7 is what I'm giving it.
7. Whoa.
Wow.
Bold. I like it. Like a
Let's all remember, though, that Nick's not a Big Brother guru.
This is
Okay.
true.
Do you see how our 3 ratings tend to fall in the same place? And you're usually the outlier.
I want to point out, though, Fan Guy, like you said, I would have loved to see Matt on this season, Matt Hoffman.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed he's not here.
Next up is Ian. So one of the 2 winners this season, Fan Guy.
Ian and Kaser, I think, I think people gravitate to people that resonate with them, and a lot of times that they can identify with. So Ian and Kaser are my two favorite players this season for sure.
Wow.
I love Ian. I love how kind of awkward he is. I love how kind of goofy he is. Even this many years later, after winning the show, he still has that element to him. It's nothing like his first time around where he was, a fish out of water. But I like I just, maybe it's because I just, if I was on the show, that's kind of, I feel like I'd be kind of a little nerdy dude. So I love Ian. I think he's brilliant. I think he's going to see all the moves. I'm worried about his social game and whether he can connect with this particular group of people. So I'm worried his social game holds him back. But other than that, I think from a game standpoint, he's going to see most of the angles.
Meg.
I like Ian too, but I don't like how he's coming into this game. I don't like the Million Club. I think that's the worst decision you could make, is team up with the one other person who's also won the game. So, I mean, I just don't know how much I think Ian is going to, like you said, Fan Guy, it's the social aspect for me too, because there are a lot of really big personalities in this house. And I'm not sure if Ian's going to be able to keep up with that aspect. He's also not a super comp beast when it comes to physical challenges. So yes, he can see the moves ahead of time, but can he do what he needs to do to make sure they don't happen? I don't know.
I'm one of those that doesn't particularly care for Ian. He's kind of an asshole. I mean, a lot of folks maybe don't agree with me, but I really just don't like him. I don't think he should have won. I thought Dan should have won that season. He wouldn't have even been in the season if it wasn't for Boogie and Frank. So he's a fish out of water with a lot of these folks in this game right now, and I don't particularly care for him.
I will say one good thing about Ian. I feel like he's the undercover real comp beast of the game sometimes, and he started off that way as well. That is,
I mean, he did win the one to get into the HOH.
But other than that, I don't.
Anything that's not purely physical, he has shown aptitude for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see him winning as a winner. The one of two winners. It's going to be very difficult for one of them to win, even though Nicole's pregame is the best coming into this game. But we'll get to that later.
That's debatable. I think you could say the best or the worst, depending on who you ask in their particular perspective.
I guess we'll see. But let's start with a grade. I don't remember who went first. Fan Guy, I think.
Ian's chances to win, I don't think they're great, man. I like Ian. I like his personality. Like I said, I like nerdy people. But Ian's chances to win, I'm going to give him like a 2. I just don't think he's going to make the connections. This is a social game first. And I think, that's what he's going to lose track of.
Meg.
I'll rate him a little bit higher. I'll give him a 4. I think Nicole and Cody are going to be a strong alliance, and if Ian can stay within their wingspan, maybe they can take him a little bit further, but yeah, I don't see him getting very far, so I'll give him a 4.
I'm going to parrot what Fan Guy said. I'll give him a 2. If he can't form a quack pack or something like that, then he's not going to go anywhere. He doesn't have the social ability to build those connections, and he's not going anywhere. I see him out in like the first 3 weeks. If either of the winners make it far, it's not going to be him. And I think for him to get far in this game, there would have had to be more winners in this cast.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. He's going to have a very hard time making it to jury, and he's going to go before Nicole, even though I'd rather he not, but it's probably going to happen. I'll give him a 4, though.
Who we got?
Janelle is next. We will start with May.
I love Janelle. I'm way Team Janelle all the way from her very first season 6. Janelle's my first biggest girl crush in reality. So I absolutely love Janelle. I'm here for it. I'm ready to see her take it. I was so excited that I saw Kaser was there too, because I just can't wait to watch the two of them play together again. So I love Janelle. But yes, like Fanguy was saying, I hate to break it, but like Janelle's old now. So, can she keep up with the younger players? We saw a lot of this dynamic in the last season of Survivor, where we had the kind of the old heads and the new kids split up, and they played very different games. Janelle and Kaser played very different games than Christmas and David and all these like newer people. So I'm excited to see how it all comes together and how they can all play with each other. But I'm here for Janelle. Yeah, let's go Team Janie all the way.
Days.
I'll agree with that. Although the whole old thing, I mean, she's just, you can't count her out. And in the coaches season, I think if she didn't have Boogie against her, she could have gotten a lot farther in the game, especially having Brittany on her side. I do wish Brittany was in this game. But she is so intelligent. Her and Kaser right now have the best read on the house. I don't know if we can get into spoilers yet, but they knew right away that they had to play that special.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they're safe. I mean, they're at least going to make it through a week. So maybe her competition ability has dropped down a bit, but the mental is all there, and that girl is smart.
Banger.
I echo what they said, right down to the fact that I like Janelle. Janelle's definitely one of my favorites. She's definitely one of my 3 or 4 favorite housemates all together. She's one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm not sure her competition level is going to still be there, because some of these are just young bucks that have recently been thrown to the elements, like on MTV's The Challenge. So Janelle's, her challenge ability may have waned a little bit, but my thing about her is, even if it has, I think she's going to be okay, because she plays such a good social game. She does it the right way, and she aligns with the right people who are on the same wavelength as her. And that's important. It really is, when working with people, to work with the right people who either see things similarly to you, or if they don't, you have a good communication style. And I feel like that's what she has with Kaser. I think they're definitely my favorite duo this season for sure. And I think Janelle is going to be America's sweetheart in a way. I think people are going to be pulling for her this season. I legitimately feel that way.
It's impossible to not like Janelle, in my opinion. I don't know how you want to root against Janelle. And then it was a rough start for them, because they're gonna be seen as the 2 big targets, her and Kaser. But I want to talk about, yeah, they do have to, and Kaser's trying to do that, I think, from what I've seen on feeds. I want to talk about what you brought up, Meg, and winners at War on Survivor, and how the old schoolers went down, but they were outnumbered, and I feel like that is definitely a problem in this game as well. Do you think that's going to be a problem for these old schoolers in Big Brother?
I don't think that it's going to be like the same extent as it was on Survivor, where they split up in alliances based on that. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how people that have played, in season 6 through 10 compare with people that have played, seasons 16 through 21. I think, the games morph and the characters change and the game changes. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they fare with that while playing with newer players. I also think we have an interesting dynamic this season, that we do have players that have experienced other reality TV shows that are much more physically strenuous. So Big Brother, I think, honestly, is just going to really have to up their game on the physical comps. And I mean, their go-to is let's just hang on.
Half the challenges are crapshoots, I think. That's where I get my inspiration from. What would you give her odds of winning, babe? Sorry.
I'm going to rate Janelle really high, just because my dreams were, but I'm going to give Janelle a 9.
Wow. You know, she was the last one pulled off of Rob Has a Podcast, their draft. Very last one pulled off. Actually, no, she was given to the audience. Nobody even chose her to win.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're so good. I love Dani.
Meg says, "Let me draft."
Days, what would you give her odds?
I was a little worried after hearing her and Kaser's name in everybody's mouth, but now that they're safe and can survive a week and get some connections built, I do like her to go far. The one thing about the old heads is that I think in general they love the game more than the newer players, and I think that will show in the strategies that they utilize. I'm not going to go as far as giving her a 9. But I'll give her a 6 to 7. So let's go 6.5.
I love the fact that everyone brought up the different style of gameplays, even from like Survivor, because you can clearly see by the way the groups are playing that they were almost playing two completely different games. The old school people were more loyal, and they were counting on more of a traditional numbers stance in a lot of ways. And the new players realized how often things flip. I think Janelle is in a good spot. I think she's going to do fine, though I do think compare her to kind of a boom or bust player. But if you look at her previous seasons, she got third twice, right? So, like I said, I'm an odds guy, and you got somebody who's already gone the distance twice like that. I'm going to give her a good shot to do it again. Let's go. I'm going to give her same as Cody, which I think I gave an 8.
I want to say too that
Go ahead, Jason.
in her All-Star season, she was playing against legit some of the best players in this game. Took out Dr. Will. Boogie kind of got in her way a bit, but it says something getting that far against players like that.
Mm-hmm. I think if her and Kaser can get into a position where they have control over the house, I think they'll sweep for a while. They just have to and they did. Kaser won the safety suite and saved her, so they're already kind of putting them in there.
The safety suite is almost better to win in a lot of ways than the HOH because you're safe, but you don't have to get the blood on your hands. So,
exactly.
In case they're kind of we're able to hey, we're safe, but we're not making any enemies. We're not putting any targets on our back that aren't already there.
Now, before the backdoor thing wasn't really around when Janelle and Kaser played, right? Nokomis came up with the backdoor strategy. What season was she on with?
5.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 or 5. Because she was on there with Cowboy and Jace, and I think that was season 5.
Oh yeah. Okay, so right before Janelle played. I just think just don't really remember a lot of backdooring strategies when Janelle and Kaser played. That's more of it's like almost every move they make now. It's like everybody's got to be backdoored. So I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Well, in her original season 6, there was no point in backdooring folks because that was one of the most split houses in Big Brother history. So it was just two sides of the house. You put up the other side versus the other side. There was no need to backdoor.
That was such an amazing season.
Yes.
Go ahead, Nick. What do you think?
I was just going to say my fear for both her and Kaser is that they're going to always be the target this season. I don't think there's going to be a big split of the house that I see so far. I mean, it usually comes at some point, but if they could get an alliance with Bayleigh and DaVonne, like we talked about earlier, and they could pull in Christmas because Bayleigh and Christmas has this thing going on, then I kind of like their chances a little more, but I don't know if they have the numbers. They're going to have to win. Like you said, they're going to have to win. That's what they're going to have to do.
Well, I mean, if they can get Keisha and Memphis and Enzo with them too, and Memphis gets his shit together,
my problem is
maybe
the pregame alliance. There's another pregame alliance of Cody and Memphis. That's the problem with that.
Cody's got a lot of ties, a lot of pregame stuff going.
Yeah.
So Enzo and Memphis are going to end up rolling with Cody. Janelle, Kaser, Keisha are going to have to pull in Bayleigh, DaVonne, Nicole, Anthony.
I mean, I think they're starting to get Dani. Janelle and Dani have a relationship outside of the game.
As long as Dani doesn't do her normal bullshit, that should be fine.
I know.
Dani, don't be Dani.
I'm gonna give her a 6, which is the lowest grade. It hurts me to do that, but sorry, I have to give her a 6.
What'd Fan Guy give Janelle?
An 8.
8.
8. Ooh. Okay. I'm caught up.
I like the spot her and Case are in general right now. I do.
Up next is Keisha, Fan Guy.
Okay, so I didn't. This is the castmate. I didn't know who it was. I'll just come out and say it. I remembered her birthday.
How?
I showed the clip of her birthday clip, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I remember Keisha." But I feel that Keisha, for me, is definitely easily the most forgettable player in the house. I think she's trying to play from what I'm seeing. Like she's trying, but I think she's always going to find herself on the bottom of the groups that she chooses to align with. I don't think she's ever going to find herself in a truly powerful position because she's always going to be third or fourth down the totem pole with whomever she chooses to align with. So I like Keisha. I mean, I think it's funny Days mentioned Brittany a little while ago because I feel like I would have rather see Brittany than Keisha. I feel like she would have been a better personality, and because we aren't going
100%.
But yeah, we aren't going for the term all-star in the traditional sense as we've established. I just think Brittany would have fit the same sort of I don't know. I just think Brittany would have been a better fix, and they almost kind of remind me of each other in terms of a lot of similar traits. So I just think Brittany would have been a better personality for TV. So Keisha, I mean, she's forgettable for me. I don't find myself liking or disliking her. I just don't see that she's ever going to, have a chance to really get any footing in this thing.
I'm gonna go next because I will not stand for this Keisha slander. That is. Keisha is she's very old now. So, but on her season, she was so entertaining. So that I just like the entertaining people in Big Brother. I'm sorry, I just like the entertaining people. But she's definitely one of my favorites, right, in this game with DaVonne that we've touched upon so far. And I also feel like she did get off to this slow start, unfortunately, and that might cost her to go out first. It's very possible. But what she has shown so far in the feeds is that her gut has been the most accurate gut going on in the house. So if she stays, she does have that gut going for her so far. And when you play these games, your gut is sometimes the thing you have to listen to most. Anyway, that was my diatribe. Dave, do you want to go?
I love Keisha. I just love season 10 in general. It's one of those that I've watched multiple times, partly because I love Dan as a player too. She is super loyal. Whoever she teams up with, she is not going to stray away from that. And she can bring the heat when she needs to in an argument. And going back to the person who I said was going to end up in an argument, I hope her argument is with Christmas because that is going to be glorious to watch. With that being said, I think she might end up being a first boot. I hope that doesn't happen, but I love Keisha. I hope she gets far. Just don't do the same thing where you were too loyal to players like Dan and Memphis and ultimately miss your shot out at a $500,000.
Meg.
I feel for Keisha. I agree. I think that her downfall was just being too trustworthy and not recognizing what was happening the first time she played. But I also think that the likelihood that she goes home this week is pretty high. So sorry, I wish we could have seen you longer, but I don't think she's sticking around.
Fan Guy, what grade would you give her?
I echo their sentiment that I don't think she's making it out of this week. So on the strength of that alone, and if she does make it out of this week, again, I just don't see her ever being in control of any alliance or having say. So her chances of winning this game are a 1 for me. I think she has virtually no chance to actually win this game.
Days.
Again, I think she has the possibility of being a first boot. I think it's going to come down to whether she is on the block or not to begin with. I haven't read the feeds today. I think it's going to come down to if Janelle or Kaser can win the POV, and that's going to be the thing that saves her since they are safe. So I'm not going to go a 1. I'm going to give her a little bit better rating than Dani. I'll go with a 3. She's just, even if she does get to the end, she's not going to win this game.
Meg.
Yeah, I give her a 2 just because maybe she'll get pulled off of the block this week and be safer in, another couple of weeks. But I agree, she has 0 shot to win.
Yes, as much as I love Keisha, I'm going to have to give her a 2. If she survives this week, she might make it kind of far. But is she going to survive this week? I'll follow my gut and say no, but hope it's wrong.
One interesting feedback on that is an interesting phenomenon we've noticed over the years is the fact that once somebody's nominated once, it becomes a lot easier to nominate them again because people don't want to get blood on their hands, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always a cop-out to be able to say, oh, I nominated you basically because you were up there last week. And I could see that her fault. If she survives, I could see her being a victim of that as well.
But I think if that does happen, it's going to completely light the fire under her ass, and it better light the fire under her ass.
I really just don't respect that gameplay, though. I really respect the players that want to get in there and actually play the game.
I don't agree with that gameplay. It's just we.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm not like disagreeing with you with your assessment of it. I don't like when, have some balls, make a decision and make a move. That's what they're here to do, right? So.
Hard facts.
Next is Kaser. We will start.
What up, Kaser?
Start with me. I love Kaser probably more than I love Dani. I've been dreaming of this moment for 14 years, so I'm so glad that he's back. I agree, Fanguy, when you said like to an extent, I agree that Kaser isn't the all-star that we think of when we think of all-stars. Oh my gosh, my child's gonna join. Sorry, that's what happens when you're a mom. But I think he's an all-star in the fact that like anybody that watched Big Brother or knows about Big Brother knows about Kaser, and they know that the time that he did spend in the house, he was, in my opinion, one of the best players to ever play the game. And I don't think that he had the chance to win because he was just so good and people could tell that right away. So I'm hoping that he doesn't get the same fate this time around because I'm just like in love with him and I'm in love with him and Jeannie together. So it's like my childhood is like back on my TV right now. So I'm just like stoked to see it play out.
Fanguy.
I echo that completely. This is my favorite player in the house for a lot of reasons. My single favorite player for sure this season. He's such a deep thinker, and I could not put it any better than Meg did that he got such a raw deal. I'm not sure, and I don't want to. I might show this might be a mistake. Didn't he win America's favorite player?
He got voted back into the house.
Yeah, he got voted back in.
Yeah, he got out pretty, so this guy's memorable, like for sure. I remember him from both of those seasons. And he was targeted by everybody because he was just so damn aware of everything that was going on. And there's always a danger of that when you play such an openly cerebral game where people can see that you're really trying to stay a step ahead of everything. Now, in Kaser's case, I think he does a good job of that. So I love him and Janelle. They're going to be who I personally find myself rooting for so far this season. And I love that, now that we're past the whole all-star resume, because it is what it is. But yes, Kaser, from a gameplay standpoint, in my opinion, is one of the best to ever play. He was eliminated so early because he was so good. And I love players like that. I think players like that deserve another shot. And I can't wait to see what he can do with hopefully more time.
Dazed.
Can we all just agree about how beautiful this man is, even at his age? He is so good looking.
We can agree.
I love Kaser, and he is an all-star. When America wants you back into the house, you are 100% an all-star player. And when you're willing to shave your head to stay in a game, I mean, I love it. I love his gameplay. I love his thought process. I love his reads on the house. There's a reason he's safe this week.
He's brilliant.
Yes. I love him. I want to see him go far. Dude is cutthroat. He will do what he has to do to win this game. I just wish that he's seen as a big threat by everybody, even though he didn't finish far in most
Because they
of
know
his
how
games.
cutthroat he's capable of being.
But if he can get some shields around him, I mean, he has the ability to win competitions to save himself. So it's going to be a tough road for him to win this game, but I would love to see it. I so would love to
Did
see
you guys
it.
see on the feeds when him and Janelle were talking in the bedroom, and she's like, we have to try to fly under the radar or whatever, and he's like, how? Like, how do you think we're supposed to do that? And she's like, you're right. I mean, she's literally wearing like a star. She's just like, it's right. The attention's on her.
They have to make a chill town. Those two have to just be completely open with them teaming up and say, "Hey, come for me, and you better be ready for the backlash when we win competitions and come and take you out."
And I think they will.
People forget that aspect too. If you haven't played these kind of games before, you forget the aspect of if you send somebody in, you better make sure, it's like they say, you take your shot, you better make sure you hit. Because if you take your shot and miss, and it's against somebody who's capable in comps, you're doing yourself a big disservice. And
I do love the yin and yang dynamic they've had on the feed so far with they just really, they're able to talk about everything and feel all different sides of the angles, and they're going to have to do that. I agree with you, Days. I just have to echo the sentiment you guys said. Keisha's the other person I'm rooting for, along with DaVonne and Keisha, and he's the smartest person in the house. He just is. That's just what it is.
Smarter than Ian.
I'm not arguing that at all.
Meg, what score would you give him to odds of winning?
I'm gonna give him an 8. Lower than Janelle, but I think that they would take him out before Janelle. But I'm trying to, maybe my scores will go into the universe and make something happen. So I'm just gonna be optimistic and say an 8.
Dazed.
I got to go a little bit lower. As much as I want to see him win this game, I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to give him, I'll give him the same as Janelle, 6.5.
Fanga.
I'm in line with Meg directly on this one, not in the number I'm giving him, but in the fact that I'm going to give him 1 point lower than I gave Janelle, simply because I do think that if the house decides to go for them, that he's going to be targeted before she will. So I believe I gave Janelle an 8, so I'm going to give Kaser a 7. But I do think him and Janelle actually have a legit chance to win this game, to get to the end.
I'm just going to give him the same score I gave Janelle, which was a 6.
I would really love to see a Kaser and Janelle final 2.
That would be epic.
But then which third do they have? At that point, it's like, do I really want to bring this other person? Or is, Captain Unlikable sitting there in third?
I mean, I think if they want a third, it's going to have to be I think it would be like Nicole A. or David or somebody that's going to be a good enough player to kind of make it that far with them. But I think they'll stay loyal to each other if it was between them deciding.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
I hope you're right.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up next is Kevin. We'll start with you, Days.
I love Kevin. I am glad to see him back in this game. I think he really got screwed in his season. He was one competition win away from beating probably one of the least respected winners of Big Brother history. I love his personality. And dude is smart. I put him up there with Kaser as far as his ability to maneuver in the game and just his intellect. I love him. I love him, love him, love him.
Meg.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Kevin's super likable. Now that he has been on the block, I think it's gonna fall into that, like, he's gonna keep being put on the block type scenario. But I see him being a pawn that might survive a few weeks as a pawn. So I don't think it would be. I think if you had somebody like Enzo up as a pawn, that everybody's going to come together and be like, "Now's our chance. He's up there. Let's get him while he's there." I think Kevin's somebody that's just going to hold that spot, just to hold that spot. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident that he'll do fairly well.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing, that he's going to be the one that's probably going to be a pawn a lot. But he already has a lot of good connection in there. And in my opinion, the best social game. Fan guy.
I concur with that completely. I mean, I think kind of what Dave said, or I echo it a manner of what he said. I think Kevin is highly underrated in terms of intelligence, but I think Kevin's intelligence is different than Kaser's intelligence. I think they both excel at the type of intelligence they have. I think Kaser has a more cerebral, I'm seeing this as a chessboard sort of intelligence. I think Kevin has a very strong social intelligence and an emotional intelligence in dealing with people. So one of the reasons I rated Keisha so low and her chances to win, in fact, which I didn't mention then, but I will now, is because she's on the block against Kevin. And if those nominations stay the same, I just see Kevin as being so much more likable than Keisha, that her fate is sealed, and that Kevin's going to take being on the block probably better than most people, because he has a certain humility that's really endearing. Like, even he was saying, I don't think I deserve to be on this season of All-Stars. I don't feel like an all-star. And for me, there's something endearing about that kind of person who isn't taking themselves so seriously and really appreciates the game. The fact he says that about himself shows his true love and passion for this game, that in a way he thinks he's unworthy. So I love Kevin. I think Kevin is going to be fine this week. And I echo you guys' statement about how I do think, unfortunately, because he's going to take being on the block so well, I think that makes it even easier to throw people back on there whenever they're just like, it's okay, I understand. You had to put up someone and you didn't have a reason to do it yet. You know, when you have a good-hearted person like that, it's going to be easy but he could easily survive several of those.
So nominations have been chosen, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's
nominations.
Kevin.
It's Kevin and Keisha. Kaser won the sweet safety and saved Janelle, and I think actually they were doing veto comp right before we started this, because I logged in and the feeds.
I'm gonna look for live updates.
And I think if somebody comes off the block, I'm confident. I think maybe Ian would go up.
Yeah, veto hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But Kevin and Keisha are the two nominees for sure.
Yeah. Before Kevin started off this way of being on the block this early and probably going to be on the block a lot more, I would have probably given him the highest score of mine personally. But that guy, what would you give his chance of winning?
Kevin, again, I hate that he's on the block this time, because I do think eventually, even if he survives a lot of being put on there as a pawn, it's tough to maintain that the whole way through. So I'm going to give Kevin a 5, because I think his social game actually gives him a decent chance, but he's not off on the best foot.
Days.
I'm going to give him the same score that I gave Janelle and Kaser, that 6.5, just because his ability to get far in a game is proven. Again, if it came down to that one competition and he could have won the entire game, he is 100% underrated as a player. I'm just worried, especially if he's on the block already. I mean, pawns do go home, and if he can make it past this week, then yeah, I think he has a great shot of getting far, but it's not looking good so far.
Meg.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you guys. I'm going to give him a 6. I think that if he can survive a couple weeks as a pawn until the headhunting really starts getting down and dirty, to where they're not continuing to put him up as a pawn anymore, I think his social game is enough to get him further in the game, and he's proved that before. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again. So I'm going to go 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him slightly higher. I'm gonna give him 7. I do think his social game, if he survives this week anyway and survives a couple more, I think he can turn around. My favorite moment on the feed so far was after he talked to Cody, and Cody's like, "Why did I put up Kevin? I love Kevin." So I think that does speak a lot to things. Up next is Memphis. We will start with you, Meg.
Honestly, Memphis isn't really that memorable to me for some reason. I don't remember a whole lot except that he screwed over Keisha, obviously, but and he did come in second in his game, but I don't really remember a lot of his gameplay, and I don't really like the way that he's coming in now. I feel like he's kind of just trying to play it too many different ways and be on too many different sides, and especially now if you're saying about the pregame with Cody and all that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Memphis, honestly.
Days.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him being a renegade with Dan, I would have completely forgot about him in season 10. The only thing that really stood out to me in that season was his dislike for Rennie. I haven't noticed him in this game so far, so I don't have any strong feelings either positively or negatively against him. So it is what it is.
Fan guy.
Forgettable player. Next. Yeah, I'm with Days. If he wasn't with Dan, I'd have no idea.
How do you remember anything from that season except Dan?
Yeah, and in Memphis's defense, he was playing alongside, in my opinion, easily one of the top 5 players, if not higher than that, to ever play the game. So it is easy to get a little lost in the shuffle there. But he hasn't done anything this season either to stand out or anything. So for me, he's just another one of those very forgettable. I couldn't really care that he's there to be just blunt. There's 100 people I would have rather seen have his slot.
Same.
I would have rather had Jerry on this season than Memphis from season 10.
Log back. If Cliff wanted back in, throw Cliff in there. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. If Boogie had threatened Will, maybe he would have been in that spot. I don't know.
I just basically feel the same way. This pre-alliance shit that's going on, though, is going to help him. I think that's going to take him further than it should. Hopefully not too far, though. I'm going to give him a 5, though. Meg.
I give him a 3. I don't see him winning this game at all.
Dazed.
I'll give him a 5 too. I think he's falling in line with a Brigade 2.0, and he's likely to be the first one of that said alliance booted out the house.
Fan guy.
Him and Enzo are going to fall into the exact same trap again. They're going to get into an alliance, and they're just going to be cut off exactly like Dave says at the bottom of it. So I think his chances to get far are good, but his chances to actually win the game, I'm going to give him a 2.
Meg, what was your ranking?
3.
3.
Up next is Nicole Anthony. Like I said, I didn't watch last season, so I don't really know her much at all, but we'll start with you, Fan.
I love Nicole Anthony. She falls right into the kind of like nerdy crew that I just find myself gravitating to. You know, she just seems like she would like dragons and fairies and crap. So like, I just enjoy, I enjoy people like that. They're authentic. I think Nicole Anthony is, off the top of my head, the most like authentic person in the house. She's just a sweetheart. She's very underrated when it comes to, I think, her intelligence level of actually, I'm not gonna call it intelligence. She's very smart, but her awareness level is underrated. I think people know she's smart, but I think her awareness level is very underrated, and she's very, very aware of what is going on. And I think she flies low enough under the radar, and she's not going to be viewed as a competition threat. That I love her. I love her in so many ways. She's just, I like her personality, and I think she has a good social game that can get her far. I don't think she's going to need to rely on competitions to excel.
Meg.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not like Nicole Anthony? You know, she's incredibly genuine, and I think she's somebody that I would be friends with in the house, and that's who I would probably spend the majority of my time talking to and hanging out with. She's relatable and she's super likable. And I think that's going to get her far. I see her playing a similar game to what she did last season, but I think a stronger game, because I think she's coming into this one more mentally prepared than last season. She had a couple mental downfalls where she was kind of breaking last season. I don't know if I agree with Fan Guy that she knows everything that's going on around her, because I think she was super naive going in with Mickey, in an alliance with Mickey. I think it was smart for her to align with him, but to think that he would choose her over Holly is, an asinine thought. So, but I think she's going to take that into her gameplay this time. I think she's going to play better than she did last time. So she's high on my list.
Days.
I love this girl, everything about her. I'm excited to see her play in a game that isn't full of douchebags. And if she made it to third place in a house full of just toxic people, and to see her without them, without being tied to Cliff, I like her to go super far in this game. She's super personable, friends with everybody. I want to hang out with her in my everyday life. I just 100% love this girl to death.
Well, I could only base this on the first few days of feeds, and the one thing I notice is the people that don't like her, which are Dani and Nicole F. mostly so far. Now,
And
is that
I
enough
think they're threatened by her, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know why. What is this whole podcast drama?
So Nicole Anthony has a podcast with her best friend Eric, and they reached out to Dani and Nicole Frenzel, and they basically ghosted her. They didn't respond to her DMs, and why they're using that to hate her, I don't know. I think they're under the assumption that Nicole Anthony is going to use that against them, but that's the business. I mean, and partially because Nicole does not like Eric. I don't know the whole backstory of that, but Nicole is also not a fan of Brent, that does the podcast with Taryn Armstrong on A-Trap. So Nicole Frenzel, she's just, forget about her. I don't know what the deal is. I think they're just mean girls to the bone, and that's what they're using to target her for.
Fan Guy, what do you think her chances of winning are?
I actually think they're pretty good. I'll go back and say she did have one negative thing about her in my mind, and that is that she allied with the scum of the earth. That I've got to knock her for in general, because I just think that dude was a POS on every level. But I like her chances this season. I think she's gonna, mainly because she's gonna fly under the radar, and I don't think anybody's gonna like peg her as a threat until it's possibly too late. So I'm gonna give her probably the same score as I gave Kaser, even though I think she might have a slightly better chance. But I'm gonna give her a 7 because I think she does have a very reasonable chance at doing well.
Meg?
Yeah, I'm going 7 as well. I think that Nicole will do well in this game for sure.
I'm going to bump her up 1 and give her an 8, as long as she can get into an alliance and not become the third leg of a duo. I think that's ultimately what kept her from winning her season. I think if Holly and Mickey weren't together along with her, she might have won that game. So team up with, create a 3-person alliance that isn't a showmance, and I think she has a great chance to win this. Again, I put her up there with Cody and DaVonne, giving her an 8 on this one.
This will be like the first season in forever with 0 showmances. So I'm
stoked. Nick is super happy about that one.
This is true.
I am too. You can find me trolling their Facebook post where they're like, "What was the saddest Big Brother breakup you've ever seen?" Like, that's the headline, and I'm like, "Big Brother's not supposed to be about showmances." I write, my novels like it's just, with you, Nick. I'm like over it.
I don't know what to give hers because I don't know her. I'm gonna probably go a little lower than yours just because of what I've seen so far. So I'll give her a 6 for now.
I was interesting on your take because you didn't watch last season, so you don't have the same preconceived notions that we do. Because part of her likability for me isn't from this season. It's because I got to, grow with her last season and watch her grow.
Yeah. On the pizza part, I feel like does she literally have anybody that's like close to her? I feel like even David isn't very close.
Kaser. Her and Kaser are getting really close.
I think she'll get in with that group, and they're going to be bigger targets than her.
Yep.
Yeah, you are right about that. I agree. It's a good point. Well, from one Nicole to another, Nicole Franzel. We will start with Meg for the look on her face.
Nicole F is the Carol Baskin of Big Brother.
Wow.
She ain't gonna get no love from this show. I have a feeling.
She is awful to watch. Awful. Like
you guys.
She is absolutely awful to watch. And I can't wait to see DaVonne come for her so hard. So that's what I'm holding out for. I give her no chance to win this game. I do respect, I think she's a good gamer. I do think that she has a strategy. I think she does play well. But I do not enjoy her being on my TV. And I think that I don't respect a lot of her gameplay because I like an honest game. And she does not play an honest game at all.
Banga.
I despise. So Nicole F is one of the interesting ones, right? Because most people, over time, they grow on you, and she went the complete opposite way. Because I actually liked her in her first season, and then I liked her a little less in her second one, and now I like her a lot less in this one. But let's be real. A lot of my feelings about my dislike for her aren't as much from what she shows on TV as much, at least this season, as much as it is a lot of the controversy surrounding who she might have kept out of this particular game. So, just to, nobody's mentioned it yet. Apparently, there's word on the street that she was spying, is the word for CBS, and getting into all the pregame discussions and kind of ratting people out. Now, look, for the integrity of the game, I understand it to a degree. I really do. That being said, word on the street is that she kept 2 of my favorite all-time players off the show, which were Derek and Dan, and she got them in trouble and kept them off. So I personally it gives me a feeling just knowing that. Her gameplay itself, I think, is fine. I don't think she's going to have much of a chance this season because a lot of the controversy surrounding her. And I think she's a hypocrite because I think it's naive to assume that she also didn't have some sort of pregame agreements with at least one other individual in the house. So my biggest issue with her is that
Dani.
Yeah, she's almost certainly guilty of exactly what she was, harping on other people out. And I don't do hypocrisy. I just don't. Like, if you're going to do something, just, stand by it. So, no, I don't care for Nicole. I think her chances are probably better than I think what Meg was going to give her. Like, I do think she has a chance to win this game because she does have connections to some of the stronger players. But my personal feelings for her are not peaches and cream, if you will. I
think I'm finding hard to separate like my personal feelings for players and like where I want them to finish with like where they, like, I mean, let's be honest, like Janelle is a 9 to win, probably not realistic, but like it's just like really where I want it to be. So
I like
it's the same with Nicole.
Dave, what are your thoughts on Nicole?
Two things on her. First off, she is a Big Brother super fan, and although she may have a bit of controversy before the season, she's one of those players that will use everything she has to win this game, be it crying on television, backstabbing people, getting folks out of the game before they even get a chance to. But personality-wise, I wish they would have just put her on a show like The Bachelorette, because that's mainly what she was here for, right? So,
well, she got herself a Victor.
I love Victor too.
I like Victor too. I don't know how he puts up with her annoying ass voice all the time, though.
Sorry, I'm trying to finish off these power rankings. I agree with everything you guys said about Nicole for the most part. Hated watching her on her second season. Her first season, she was okay, I guess. But her second season, it was a mess. I stopped watching the feed sometimes because of her. But I will say that unfortunately, I feel like she came into this game in the best position in this cast because of the outside alliances. She has Dani. She works with Cody. I mean, her and DaVonne have this very not great relationship, but she knows DaVonne. She seems to be close to somebody else. I'm forgetting. I don't remember who else.
Ian,
but,
her and Ian have an alliance.
Yeah, Ian, that alliance. So she's off to unfortunately, a pretty decent start. Meg, what do you want to give her to win?
I'm gonna give her a 5. I don't really have anything else to say about that.
Dang it.
I'm actually going to give her a 6. I think her chances to win are there, but I don't hope that happens.
I'm a roll with a 6 too, just because she is a gamer and she can maneuver between this game pretty well. My concern with her is that if she does get to the final 2, they're not going to write her a check, just like they didn't write Dan a check.
I agree with that.
Yeah, let's roll with the 6.
She would have to be in against the perfect person at the end for her to win.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head who that is, but it would have to be a very...
Yep.
It's either going to have to be somebody that is truly hated by the rest of the cast, which ultimately I think that's going to be her, or
Gotta be Nicole versus Nicole
yeah.
F versus Nicole F at the end for her to win.
Or a complete goat, like somebody she can drag that hasn't done anything, and even then, I think they still might just write the other person.
Josh won Big Brother because who he was sitting next to was so hated. And Josh did nothing but bang pots and pans.
Do you think this will be a bitter jury, though?
I have hopes that as an all-star cast, it won't be. I mean, if you've won this game and you make it to final 2 again, shame on all of you for not taking that person out earlier in the game. So I look at it from game
Big Brother,
standpoint.
the juries aren't typically super bitter. I think they're pretty honest with the way that they vote typically in the show.
I think Paul got robbed. I think flat out Paul got robbed.
I hate Paul. No, I would have wanted anybody to win.
I hate Paul too, but he did get robbed twice.
Either. That's what I mean. Neither did the jury, but he played a better game than who he was sitting next to.
Yeah, I think that they were all burned by being manipulated.
I mean, he had control of that
to be
second cast at least.
fair,
But that's an interesting observation
They
because there
didn't
are
play
more
good
bitter juries in Survivor than Big Brother, off the top of my head. Like there do seem to be, and maybe it's because they go through the elements, and it's just a more, I don't know, intense experience being out
And
there.
maybe that's why I say that I don't think Big Brother juries are very bitter, because I feel like Survivor juries are pretty bitter. So, I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
Jury
I'm gonna
management,
give her-
jury management matters.
Absolutely.
Jury
Isn't that right,
I
fan
gotta
guy?
just just take my word for that. Like jury management might matter.
I voted for you, just in case nobody knows that. My vote went to you.
I feel like I lost to a bitter jury.
We played Survivor.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've been there. Now I've been in the elements.
Survivor's cutthroat. They're cutthroat.
Anyway, I'm giving Nicole F a 6 because I think it's fitting that we gave her 3 6s in a row. So
My dude.
last
man.
up is
How appropriate.
Tyler. We will start with you, Days.
I got mixed feelings on him. I honestly really don't like him. I know he's good at building connections and whatnot. I have an uneasy feeling about him. I can't really explain it. I wouldn't hang out with him in my everyday life. I just wouldn't. As a game player, yeah, he's pretty good, but personality wise, he's just kind of a dud to me.
Meg.
I mean, I don't really have any ill feelings towards Tyler. I don't think I would be friends with him either. And on BB20, he was just shacked up the whole time, laying around making out with what's her face from South Carolina. I can't remember her name, honestly. Yeah, Angela. But I think he placed where he was supposed to place in his game. I think Tyler was a very good runner-up player, runner-up winner, and Casey fully deserved that win on that season. I think that I think he's overrated, but if I think that he can make it to midway through the game with people still in the game, like Bayleigh, Christmas, David, I think it might be hard to get him out at that point.
Days.
Already talked about him. Or are we doing ratings already?
Okay, sorry.
I mean, I echo that. I think Tyler's, I think he showed all his cards on his last season. That's kind of like, I just feel like we've seen everything Tyler has in his toolbox, if you will. I think, he showed the whole, hey, I'm going to play the dumb surfer guy, but really I'm thinking more into it than that. Now everybody knows he's not as dumb as he's trying to play. So I do think Tyler is at least on the right side of the power currently because he's clearly got something going on with Cody. So I definitely think he's off on the right foot. And, because Cody's the one actually getting the blood on his hands, I do think Tyler's going to kind of ride under the radar a little bit. I think that's what Tyler's going to have to do, because a lot of times people will size people up by looks and physicality. And, Tyler's just one of the in-shape guys. And there aren't that many this season of, just in-shape guys. And those guys find themselves as targets quite frequently. So I think he was smart with pairing up with Cody, who's the other guy in that echelon. And I do think Cody's going to be a target before Tyler. So I do favor Tyler's chances to actually get pretty far in this game. He's a pretty social guy. But I just don't think he's going to bring anything to the table that we haven't seen before out of Tyler. He's going to be pretty good at comps. He's going to be pretty good socially. Matter of fact, he's pretty good across the board. But I echo what Meg said, too. He spent way too much of that season just shacking up with Angela. And, I'm curious. I mean, I'm glad to see him without her. But I'm not holding my breath that we see too much more from him.
But he knows that he's coming in with his cards already shown too. So I think that he's intelligent enough that he's gonna have to. He knows he's gonna have to play differently this game, and I mean, I don't
Is
really
he
care.
playing differently though? I feel like he has final twos already.
with like half of the cast.
Yeah, he's playing very hard, very for sure.
Well, I feel like he's a behind the scenes aggressive player.
Oh yeah.
So that I mean, I'm not surprised.
Is that people talk? That's what it comes down to. If you tell the wrong person that you think is the right person just one little tidbit of information, and that information gets out to another player, then they immediately know you're not trustworthy. And I think
that's the mistake he made last season too, or in 20, was he just made too many final two deals. You can't have final two with everybody. Pick one, bro.
I think his jury management is just not up to par in general.
I will say though, if he makes it to the end of this game, depending on who he's against, I feel like he has a better chance with the jury this time, even if he plays another aggressive game. Days, what do you give him to win?
I was, in his original season, I was kind of torn and that I thought he should have won. But after watching Casey on the challenge, I realized how good she is at the social game. So I think he was more along the lines dragged to the end. I don't think he's going to get back to where he was. And if he does get to the final two again, I think he's making the same mistakes he did before, and he's not going to win. So I'm going to give him middle of the road. Give him a 5.
Meg?
I think I'm going to give him a 6.5 just because I think he is going to kind of like grow up with Cody, and they could be a pretty dynamic duo together. But yeah, I mean, I do see him kind of feeling comfortable and that being a downfall for him.
Fangay?
I'm curious to see who Cody's number one is, if it turns out to be Tyler or Enzo, are my two top.
Or Memphis.
Or Memphis, yeah. I don't think it'll be Memphis. I'm pretty sure that Cody and Enzo have the whole Jersey connection thing. So if Tyler ends up Cody's number one, I favor his chances of getting pretty far. If Tyler ends up third on that list, I like his chances a lot less because I think that's whenever things are going to get real.
And I don't think he's going to be his number one because Cody does talk about Tyler negatively sometimes.
And I mean, I'm going to give Tyler a 5 just because he's shown the ability to get to the end before. But I don't think he's not in a bad position now. I just don't think he's in a great position in the macro of the game. I don't see him in a.
Do you not think that Cody's number one will be Nicole Franzel?
Oh, I guess that's true.
That's also highly likely, yes.
I think he would have her back over anybody else's.
I kind of think that his number one might actually be Nicole Anthony down the road.
I think if it's going to be somebody else, it actually could be DaVonne because she's very close to Holly and Cody.
And do you think the challenge, that's exactly what I was just wondering, is do you think the challenge connections that his brother made with some of these
because DaVonne's already talked about
it. Do Paul and Cody have a very good relationship? They're so different. Like, I just don't see them like being friends.
He wasn't on his
even
intro.
Though they're brothers.
he wasn't in the intro. So
I think that was COVID related.
Oh.
I'll give Tyler a 6.5 as well. I think he should have won over Casey personally, but that's just my opinion. Even though I didn't like him, I still think he should have won over Casey.
I love Casey.
They were at least both good.
Casey's a player.
Boring television.
Fan guy, what was your ranking for?
She was kind of boring, but I love her as a person.
5.
Well, as we wind down here, we went a little long, but if you guys have any opinions on the first episode while I go over these power rankings one last time.
I just want to touch on the ball game.
Thank you, because I did too.
Was that not a little fucked up that the girls?
1,000%. They got the harder one.
That was ridiculous.
It was so rigged.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That irritated me a lot.
I think a lot of that, not only the table and ball, but Cody getting a huge advantage on the stars after seeing them still wobbling
One of those things was clearly wobbling when he started.
Yeah.
Like, it was shaking. Like, it wasn't even just like a little. It was like.
Well, Julie was always in a hurry the whole time. That's probably why. Though.
Oh God, she was so in a hurry.
And they all in a hurry just to have the have not room not open.
Right. Underrated moment of the episode was Keisha acting like she didn't know where the front door was. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
She's not going first.
Yeah, first in curse. She completely avoided that front door and let somebody else go in first.
I thought it was interesting that some players, when they went in, they did not run straight to the backyard. Did they not know how to get there? Like Kaser went to the bedrooms. So
okay, because I mean, wasn't it a different house layout?
I feel like
some of them played, because I feel like the more recent years have shown spiral staircase, but the earlier years didn't have all that. So it might have been
All Stars was when they first redid the house, and that was Kaser's second season, so he knows that house.
Okay, so he should,
Maybe he didn't want to win.
It was his strategy to go get a view of like maybe different things that were in the house first, and then go look at the TV and see what he needed to find. But like, I just thought I was confused.
Winning Power Week 1 is always a interesting proposition.
Statistically, it is the best way to go, though.
Well, because you have them come and talk to you.
Yep.
But Cody isn't talking to people, so.
Yeah, but people aren't going to him either. If I were HOH, I'm not going to go seek out conversations. If you want to talk to me and get in good with me, you'll come to me.
Well,
but if you've already put up nominations, I'm not going to go up to the HOH after that.
I think Nicole Anthony kind of did that. She went to Cody, and all Cody had to say to her was that you're good, you're safe. If that was me personally, I would have asked for some type of input from Nicole to make her feel like she has some type of input in my decision. And I think when you say he's not talking to people, that's kind of the issue for me, is he's not getting information from others. So he's not playing this first week very well, in my opinion.
I also think, though, that people don't really know how to play this first week this time.
They don't have that extra week of building relationships like they normally do.
Or are people just falling back on their pregame alliance already? Because I feel like that's kind of the case.
Could be.
There's the case with Memphis.
100%.
But I feel like in any kind of like all-star game where players already know each other, it's really hard not to have some kind of pregame alliance.
You're going to roll with who you're comfortable with regardless.
And that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's as necessarily as shady as people make it out to be. It's that in the case of a lot of these players, they spent a month or two with these people already in an environment where you have nothing to do but talk to one another.
Yeah.
So they have developed relationships, and it is somewhat.
Were they quarantined with each other or individually, separately?
Individually.
Yeah, they said separately. But it would be naive to think that people aren't going to come in with some degree of that.
My understanding is that they were sequestered alone. They didn't have the original where you like get to go out and eat or sit by the pool like you normally do and sequester with other folks. But it is also interesting that they didn't take their communication away for a couple of days. So after they knew they were going to be on the show and they were sequestered, they were still able to keep in contact with other folks. So,
but in regards to the pregame alliances too, I mean, I think it only takes you so far. And what I mean by that is at the end of the day, only one person gets to win. And everyone knows this. So even the people you go into a game that you're predisposed to working with, at some point, it's if you do well, it's just going to be your friends left. And
that's why I think Cody's eventually going to stumble.
I think he's already stumbled.
Yeah.
And there's something else I want to talk about as far as power goes, is this new safety suite and how it's going to affect the conversations about noms right after HOH is won. The HOH isn't going to say shit about who they're potentially nominating until after they know who wins safety suite, because you don't want somebody that you're wanting to target to potentially play for that safety. So at this point, I don't think it's a bad twist, but I think it's interesting how it could play out as far as gameplay goes.
I think it's necessary in an all-star game to give people a chance to actually play and not just have like threat, and I think it's going to add a new level of gameplay for people to know when they need to use that and be able to read the house and read conversations and know it's their turn, it's their time to go and play this. And then also it's going to be really telling on who they can save if they win. So I think it adds a cool dynamic to the game.
And in a lot of cases, it might be optimal to, not like I said, not be head of household, but just to try to win the safety competition.
It's only for 3 weeks, right?
You have a VIP card that's good for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and then once you decide to play, your VIP card gets burned, right?
I think that sounds right.
Yeah.
But I think production might have actually gotten it right this time with this twist instead of some bullshit twist like Battle of the Block or whatever that ridiculousness was. So I think it's going to be good. I mean, it saved Kaser and Janelle already.
I'm hoping they show more have-not competitions. I feel like that's an aspect of the game that they've really kind of left out lately.
I mean, Kaser and Janelle were two of the first names out of Cody's mouth.
Yeah.
When it came to targeting. I don't know if y'all, I mean,
of course they would be. Yeah, they have to be.
Out of his mouth, and then they went to the safety. So it's already, that twist has already changed the.
I want to point out that it was Keisha's gut that told Janelle.
That was a bad move on her part. She shouldn't have said anything. Because now she's on the block, and I think, she shouldn't have let out that bit of information yet.
I mean, she didn't know that for sure. She was just speculating.
But Meg, you brought up the have-nots, and it will be after last year's debacle with Mickey eating in the shower and whatnot. I hope that all of these all-stars actually, play the game of Big Brother, do the have-not like it's supposed to be.
Show a little respect for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
exactly.
last season.
I wish they'd go back to just PB&J and then like food comps to get more food in the house instead of this like slop shit and kind of over it. And I feel like everybody else is, even production. That's why they don't show it anymore.
Well, that adds a dynamic to the game too, because if you watch the overseas Big Brothers like Australia and stuff, like they just finished the season in Australia, those people are fighting for food. You can tell they are hungry, and when those challenges come for the shopping budget, you see them like cutthroat more than
Plus you have a slot cookbook now, so people have recipes to make bread and cookies and cakes and pancakes and
they cheat anyway.
Last season was so disrespectful. It was like it goes on the list of many reasons he's my least favorite player of all time. Part of that is he showed no respect for the game of Big Brother by ignoring the have-not rules and essentially getting production to do away with have-not concept for an entire season because Jackson's a douchebag.
See, the only thing that I would not care or not want to do with the have-nots is take the cold shower, but that have-not room is a great opportunity to build connections, potentially form an alliance. So it's not a bad thing if you look at it from a game standpoint.
Well, we have to wind this down because of time, but I want to see the power rankings one last time, and if you agree, because I personally think David's too high, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty on point. Wait for it to come back around. Cody and DaVonne, I think those are possibly the top two.
David might be a little too high at 3.
David to Kevin is kind of a gray area for me.
Yeah. The bottom half of that list looks pretty spot on to me. David may be the outlier in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And for good reason. We don't know what he's going to do. We haven't seen him play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
He does seem to have pretty good instincts.
Sorry, I didn't mean I'm like thinking out loud.
Kaser and Janelle seem a little bit high.
That's my fault.
For the potential target, but yeah.
I messed up the averages.
No, I had Kaser and Janelle pretty high too. Just because I think they're more than capable of winning the game if the cards fall their way and they don't. For me, they're like in fantasy football, we use the term boom or bust.
Yeah.
They kind of fit that mold for me. Like I think they'll do really well, or they'll be out pretty early because their targets are pretty.
Yeah, I feel like Bayleigh is a little lower. I think that she should be a little bit higher on the list.
Yeah, I can see that too.
She's middle of the road for me. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will end it on that note. Thank you all for joining me. I will try and set a schedule for the next time.
All right. Nice
have a good
chatting with you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
See y'all
fun.
soon.
Yeah, later.